Hi, I'm Rachel Breckus. I'm a humanities librarian at Ellis Library, and I'm here to talk to you today about Zotera and Endnote, which are two products that MU and MU libraries support in one way or another. They are two tools for organizing and formatting your citations and managing your PDFs. Zotera is a free open source product developed at George Mason University, and Endnote is a paid product, but it's free to MU students, so as long as you're here at MU as a student, it will be free to you. And they have a lot of similarities and a few differences, and I'm going to tell you about the similarities, and then I'll take you through a little bit of a tour of both programs, and at the end I'll talk a little bit about the differences and the pluses and minuses of each, and where to get them and where to find out more information about them. So what both of these are, I think of them as kind of a magic file drawer in a way. They're a place to store your citations, your PDFs, kind of all of the articles and sources of various kinds that you use in your research and teaching. They come, both of them, with commonly used bibliographic styles, kind of out of the box with the program. And you can get other styles from a website for both of those. And why they have styles is that they will eventually interact with Word to produce your in-text citations and bibliographies automatically formatted, including in the case of Zotera, it'll take a Chicago style and it'll do the whole footnote for you, and you don't have to worry about using words, footnote functionality. If you're not used to that, it'll just do it for you, and both of those programs are very nice that way. They will also both programs allow you to store your citations in the cloud somewhere, although neither one lets you put them directly to the cloud. But the cloud storage is something that you can use to sync your stuff from one computer to another. Both of them have a mechanism for doing that, and they both have mechanisms for sharing your citations with others, with collaborators, and so on. It's usually good if you're collaborating with a group to have all of you be using the same program, but even if you're not, the programs are friendly with one another and with other There's lots of other programs like these. These are, and you may have heard of Reference Manager or RefWorks, or there's a few others that are out there that, let's see, Mendeley is another one. There's a whole bunch of these out there, but these are the two that MU concentrates on in our instruction and that we provide the most support for. But all of those programs have some way to interact with each other so that you can share across the programs. All of these programs also have some restrictions on moving and sharing of the PDFs of the articles themselves due to copyright restrictions. Both of the programs allow you to add notes to your documents in one way or another, and both of them allow you to create a searchable database of citations so that if you're trying to remember where you got that reading from, you can search through a database that you create in the programs. So I'll start off with Zotera. There's two formats you can kind of get Zotera in, and I'm most familiar with the original one, which is the Firefox add-in. It's an add-in to the Firefox browser. They now have a standalone version that is useful if you're a Chrome user. They still don't have any kind of version that'll work real well with IE, with Explorer, because that is such a lockdown browser. There's a lot of sort of browser interactivity with Zotera that means that you've got to have a browser that will be halfway communicative with the program. But it will work with Safari, the standalone will. But my screenshots are going to be mostly taken from the browser add-in version. You know that you have Zotera installed when you see this little thing that the red arrow is pointing at here, this little thing that says Zotera at the bottom of your screen. When you click on that, you will open the program, but even if you don't click on it, it's going to be doing its work in the background. And when I open it up, over here on the left, it's a lot like an iTunes interface, really. Over on the left is my file structure that I've created. These are all folders that I've made up. This one with a plus sign has got subfolders in it. This is just a screenshot, but if I were to click on that in real life, it would open up and show me subfolders. And in any given folder, there's going to be whatever you've added to it. Whatever folder you have highlighted is going to be the folder that things drop into when you add them to your Zotera. And then these buttons up here, we'll go into a little bit more detail. There are different ways to add stuff into Zotera. And then the right-hand panel is the view of the individual article. or the individual item, whatever it is, in Zotero. Several ways to add things into Zotero. The most common way, and the easiest way in most cases, is that when you have Zotero installed in your browser, and here's that browser interactivity, you get this little icon that you wouldn't normally get otherwise in your browser. It's going to appear to the right of the URL. Up here, we're in the Merlin catalog, and you've got a record for a book up, and it gives you this cute little blue book. In Zotero, all books are blue. And to get that book record into Zotero, you click on it, and it pulls in the author and the title and the publisher and all of the important stuff that you will need to cite it later. That's all you have to do. And likewise, here I am in an EBSCO article database, in Academic Search Alumni Edition for whatever reason, and I've got a different icon, not a little blue book, but this other icon here, the sort of little piece of papery looking thing. That means that Zotero has detected an article. And if you set up Zotero a certain way in the beginning, you can get it so that it will not only download the citation, but with a lot of databases that work well with Zotero, it will also pull down the PDF at the same time. Over here, I've got a YouTube video, and it's giving me a little movie film looking, use your imagination, icon, and you click on that. These other icons, by the way, have nothing to do with Zotero. They're stuff that appear on Firefox for other reasons. But if I click on that icon, it'll pull down the information, whatever information Zotero can find about the title and the author and the link and everything. And this is what it looks like when I've pulled these things in there. It notices that the item type in this case is a video recording. The title is United Breaks Guitars. It's a really funny video, by the way. And the contributor, he didn't give his real name, but that's the contributor as it is listed in YouTube, and so on. And like it says here, you click on whatever that icon is, whether it's the blue book or the article or the video or whatever, and that adds your citation into Zotero to whichever one of the collections or sub-collections is highlighted. And sometimes, though, you run into a situation where there isn't a Zotero icon, and then what you do instead is click on this other little button inside of Zotero that says Create Item from Current Page. That always takes a snapshot of the page so that if the Missourian takes that article down tomorrow, you will still have a copy of it in your Zotero. And it will also pull in a tiny bit of information. It'll try to find the title. That's usually all it's able to find, so you have to fill in some of these fields on the right by yourself. And then another way to get stuff into Zotero is the Magic Wand tool. And that one, if you are looking at a citation and that citation has an ISBN, or if you're looking at a physical book in your hand, you can just type the ISBN in, or if you've got a medical article, you can type in the PMID, or if you've got an electronic article or item of some sort, it'll often have this digital object identifier. And if you're up for typing that whole thing in, you can add it that way. And actually, since I created that presentation, there's now also a way you can take a PDF that you've already got stored in a folder on your desktop or whatever and just drag it physically into Zotero, right-click on the thing and ask it to read the bibliographic metadata off the PDF. So that is yet another way to get it in there. Not all PDFs work like that, but especially if you have a newer PDF with all that metadata embedded, it will go ahead and pull that in. So that's another easy way to get stuff in there. And then on the other end, the reason you're putting it all in there in the first place, the magic about the magic file drawer, is that it will create bibliographies and in-text documents. Two basic ways Zotero interacts with Word is, one, you can make these sort of independent lists of things. This is for stuff like syllabi or like a vita or just an annotated bibliography, that kind of a thing when you're not doing the in-text citations. There you simply select all the stuff that you want listed in there. You select it, then you right-click on the selected items. You create a bibliography. You pick your style, copy it to the clipboard. You open Word and you hit paste, and there is your, in this case it looks like APA formatted citations. And it does all the indenting and line skipping and italicizing and quotation marks and pages and all that stuff that APA wants to see. And then There is also the Zotera toolbar here, which is actually a separate download, and which one you choose is going to depend on what version or what word processor you're using, and if you're Windows or Mac and so on. The Zotera page has got information that'll lead you through which of these to download. But once you have it downloaded, you'll get a bunch of little icons like this, and it lets you, and when you hit the little pencil, it will let you insert an in-text citation. When you hit the third button there, it will create a bibliography out of whatever stuff you've already inserted. Those are some examples of some in-text citations that Zotera has inserted, and then you tell it where to make that works cited list, and if you add new citations in the course of your paper, they automatically add themselves in the right order to the works cited list at the end. There's a few added things you can do now with Zotera. I'm not going to spend too much time on that and go over a little bit with Endnote, but there is, in the beginning when you set up Zotera, you want to make sure you've got it customized to MU in the preferences pane. You have to make sure that the open URL resolver goes to find it at mu.library.missouri.edu. This information's all in our guide that's online, but you want to make sure that it says that, so that, and Zotera gets better at downloading full-text PDFs when you ask it to. And yeah, there's a couple of little how-tos in these pages about the bit about attaching files already on your computer to bibliographic records in Zotera. There's then syncing between computers. Just know it can be done, and it's usually the syncing the way of doing things with Zotera is best when you're kind of moving between two or more computers that you own yourself. And then portable Firefox is a good way to go if you end up working a lot in a lab situation or on computers that are not your own, in a nutshell. You can share citations with a group for group projects. If all of you end up having to establish an account with Zotera online, and then you can use a group library on Zotera.org to share the stuff back and forth. Okay, so Endnote is a program that, oops, how do I go back here? Okay. Oh, I was hoping I'd be able to click out to that because it's got an actual video of how to use some of those same things with Endnote. But actually, what I think, I'm going to give Endnote a little bit of short shrift, but basically it can do a lot of those same things. And I guess if you follow that URL yourself, maybe, or you might be able to insert that video at this point in the presentation later. But okay, so let's skip that for now. So advantages that I see for each of these programs are these. With Zotera, the program will auto-update. It's at least the Firefox add-in version. It's just like another add-in. Whenever there's updates available, you get prompted and it quickly downloads. Whereas with Endnote, they come out with a new version every year, and usually have to download that yourself and kind of keep up with it. And I know that Zotera was a little bit faster with dealing with whenever a new style manual comes out, like when APA came out with its latest version. Zotera was a little bit faster in getting that new APA style integrated into the product. And they both did eventually, but it was a little bit of a hassle getting APA updated in Endnote, and it was pretty seamless with Zotera. Zotera is real good with free websites, and it creates copies of web pages. Endnote doesn't have a real obvious way to do that. I mean, you can kind of create by hand entries for free web pages, and a lot of the creation of the citations for free web pages in Zotera does end up having to be by hand, but it is nice that it creates that mirror. Zotera tends to function with a lot of sort of drag and drop, and I find it fairly intuitive. You know, a lot of right-clicking, a lot of drag and drop. Not quite as menu-driven as Endnote is. There's a lot of menus in Endnote, and you have to kind of remember which menus certain things are in, and I don't always find that intuitive. Zotera stays free even after you leave MU because it is an open source product. And just recently, they've started to come out with add-ons to Zotera, such as something called Paper Machines, that I won't even get into here, but just briefly, that paper machines is something that allows you to do kind of big data analysis and sort of mashes all your PDFs together and lets you find out certain generalizations about them, and kind of topic clustering and some things like that. That's a whole other topic. And then EndNote advantages. EndNote has a lot more styles to it. Both of them have a small number of styles, popular styles out of the box, and you have to go to their websites for more. But EndNote has a lot deeper, a much larger set of styles that you can choose from. You know, journal-specific styles and the like. Zotera has some of those, but not nearly as many. In EndNote, you can, if you're a geek, kind of modify and create styles. That's a little bit of an involved process, but you certainly can do it in EndNote. Whereas you really can't in Zotera without knowing some computer languages that a lot of us may or may not know. A few databases at MU can be searched from within EndNote. Now in EndNote's video that I just put up there, it makes it sound like that every database can be searched that way. I'm here to tell you they can't necessarily all be searched that way, but a lot of people really do like that functionality, especially if they use a lot of things like PubMed, where you can do that, or worldcat.org, some of the free databases that are out there. It's kind of nice to have that common search interface there, but it definitely doesn't work with all databases. A big deal for EndNote users is if you're somebody who's going to be adding just a whole huge ton of articles at the same time, EndNote makes it a lot easier to do that. And also because they are a company, they have an 800 number for user support, whereas with Zotera, you know, I'll take questions about it at the library, but I'm not always that easy to reach because I do a lot of other things too. And there's also a set of forums, as is, they're pretty active and pretty responsive when it comes to answering questions in their forums, but it's not quite the ease of access as an 800 number. But so there's kind of pluses and minuses. I'm in the humanities. I work a bit more with Zotera. People in the sciences often work more with EndNote, but I've also worked with people from the sciences that really like Zotera, and there's, you know, humanities, social science people who really like EndNote too, but they're both good programs. I can recommend them both, definitely. And the main thing is just get to know one of them, stick with it, use it a lot, and the more kind of online research and the more research in general you do, the more helpful it's going to be. I mean, what's perfect is to start using one of these things earlier in your graduate career, and then just keep using it all the way through to the dissertation, and you will have a wonderful way to keep track of all of the research that you're doing. Where to find out more information and how to get the download links and everything. From the MU Libraries homepage, we have a research tools menu. And the second item there is EndNote. The third item there is Zotera. They're both, you just click on those and you will get to our guides that we've written. And the guides also have a few of the how-tos on there as well. Okay, thanks for having me and have a good day.